establish a fund that could give loans to districts, sort of lower than market loans that were long enough that the savings are bigger than the cost, kind of like PACE, which schools can't take advantage of.
Again, welcome to the Oregon School District and to Forest Edge Elementary School specifically. I am Leslie Bergstrom. I'm honored to serve as the superintendent of the Oregon School District. And I'm also very happy to be a part of this group here today. Professionals gathering to collaborate on solving today's environmental challenges. That's an exciting place to be. And it's also very fitting that it's happening in a school, a net zero school. And I think it's important to note that because we have over 400 young students, grades kindergarten through 6th, who come here every day during the school year. And to focus on environmental sustainability is just the way things are done. It's a part of their daily life. And consequently, it will be significantly shaping their worldview. And it's an important opportunity for the entire community and beyond. So I'm very pleased to see everybody here today. And next, I'd like to invite Carly Eaton, our Wisconsin Policy Manager for the Blue-Green Alliance, to come to the microphone.
Thank you so much. Right, good afternoon. I'm Carly Eaton, and I'm the Wisconsin Policy Manager for the Blue-Green Alliance. The Blue-Green Alliance unites labor unions and environmental organizations to solve today's environmental challenges in ways that create and maintain good quality jobs and build a clean, prosperous, and equitable economy. Thank you for joining us today at an amazing school. Isn't this place awesome? When I walked in, I was like, do I need to move to Oregon so my kids can go to school here? It's fantastic. Forest Edge Elementary, as Dr. Bergstrom said, is the first net zero energy school in the state. And it's an example of what's possible for schools across the state and across the country. Thank you to the Oregon School District, Superintendent Dr. Leslie Bergstrom, Business Manager Andy Weiland, and Forest Edge Principal Carrie Majeski for welcoming us into your school and serving as our host today. I'd also like to thank our other co-hosts as well, the Wisconsin Education Association Council and Forward Together Wisconsin. With your partnership, we look forward to getting the word out and making the most of the tremendous opportunity that is available right now for Wisconsin schools, communities, and workers. A lot of what we're going to talk about today revolves around the Inflation Reduction Act. This legislation, passed by Senate and House Democrats and signed into law by President Joe Biden in August 2022, will revitalize U.S. manufacturing, grow clean energy, and support and create good union jobs across the country. It'll tackle climate change by reducing emissions by up to 42% by 2030 and create the good-paying union jobs we need to give all workers the opportunity for a middle-class life. The Inflation Reduction Act demonstrates that we can have both good jobs and a clean environment. To say a little bit more about it, because it's a giant piece of legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act will grow clean energy and drastically reduce emissions while creating high-quality jobs in the clean economy through proven standards that lift up job quality, make historic investments to expand clean energy and electric vehicle manufacturing, transform the industrial sector to reduce emissions and build our own supply chains for vital technologies, accelerate clean vehicle deployment and whole-of-government approach to address this source of greenhouse gas and health-harming emissions, while also creating and preserving good union jobs, supporting and growing a domestic supply chain for vehicle components and technologies, and improving mobility and air quality in our neighborhoods. Establish a host of critical investments in clean energy infrastructure, transmission, energy-efficient homes and buildings, affordable housing, and resilient and healthy communities, and sustain and expand high-quality jobs to workers and in communities that need them the most, including low-income workers and workers living in communities that have been hit hard by energy transition or job outsourcing. The clean energy tax credits that we're talking about today, available to school districts, local governments, tribal communities, and other nonprofits for the first time ever via a Department of Treasury program called Direct Pay, are an important piece of this monumental piece of legislation. We need to make the most of this opportunity to create a healthy and equitable clean energy future for our children and our communities. And we can do it while creating and maintaining good quality living jobs for Wisconsin workers. Thank you, and now I'd like to pass the mic to the principal of this fantastic school, Carrie Majeski. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Forest Edge. We're excited to have you as partners in learning and in celebration. When I think about learning, you're going to find today on your tour that this school is very different, probably from the schools you attended, certainly from the schools that I attended as a child. We've made a commitment, as you'll see, to some natural light, to access to the outside, to learning about sustainability, and to collaborative learning spaces. As you look around, you're going to see all the opportunities that our kids have and how we use learning throughout the building to have kids find out more about sustainable energy. Likewise, we are in celebration because our students are stewards of our environment. You would be shocked at the things that they have come up with here. Whether it's building pollinator gardens, building garden beds, learning about solar or geothermal energy, our kids, kindergarten through grade 6, are well versed in what that does for our environment and how they can lessen their impact on our earth. So welcome to Forest Edge. We're excited to have you. We only wish our kids were here too to celebrate with us, and we're excited to have you here. Thank you. Next up is Nathan Ugoritz from WEAC. Come on up.
When my students have clean, efficient schools and buses, their health and their learning improves. My name is Nathan Ugoritz. I'm a teacher and the Secretary-Treasurer of the Wisconsin Educator Association Council. WEAC educators across the state, including here in Oregon, are proud to partner with the Biden-Harris administration and school, labor, and state leaders to upgrade public schools with modern facilities and transportation. Wisconsin public school teachers and education support professionals, including bus drivers, maintenance, and custodians, know firsthand how outdated HVAC in classrooms that are drafty in the winter and stifling hot in the spring impact our learning conditions. In school after school, it's entirely too common to work where the ventilation system is inadequate, where there are leaks coming through the ceiling tiles, and where mold has disrupted learning, and the quality of drinking water is questionable at best. Our students' learning conditions are our working conditions. Bus drivers and paraprofessionals who help children get off and on buses every day, all breathing the same exhaust, day after day, morning and afternoon, that our students do. Teachers with asthma can't do their jobs if their classroom air makes them sick. And without reliable and affordable access to broadband internet, our rural schools are left behind. Every Wisconsin student and educator deserves safe, clean schools, no exceptions. Buses and other school transportation should be energy and cost efficient. But sadly, funding for maintenance and improvements have been put on the chopping block as state funding for public schools dwindles and districts are forced to go to referendum just to keep the doors open. This leaves no resources for overhauling outdated electrical systems or investments to cut energy costs. That's why WEAC is strongly supportive of the Biden-Harris efforts to build a better school infrastructure, to upgrade our public schools with modern, clean, and energy-efficient facilities and transportation. The results of these efforts, which you'll see up close today, are very real indeed, and have the power to positively impact the next generation. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to now introduce Emily Pritzkow, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Pritzkow, and I am the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council. Our 15 union and craft member unions represent the voices of about 40,000 men and women working in Wisconsin's construction industry. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Forest Edge Elementary School and the Oregon School District for hosting us here today. The clean energy tax credits we've heard about today are really exciting for my members because of their broad scope and because they open up the possibility of clean energy investments for so many across Wisconsin. And when I say broad scope, I mean not just schools, but state, county, and local governments, tribes, and other nonprofit organizations that are now eligible for these credits. And for us, that means a lot of construction work to do in communities across Wisconsin. The Inflation Reduction Act, for the first time ever, ties strong labor standards to tax credits. It demonstrates that we can have both good jobs and clean, safe, energy-efficient schools and other community infrastructure. It means all projects larger than 1 megawatt must pay prevailing wages and utilize registered apprenticeships to qualify for the full value of these IRA tax credits. The funding set up to guarantee that clean energy projects are creating good quality jobs for our communities and that these jobs build a pipeline of future workers in the trades and give these workers a path to family-sustaining careers. So what does prevailing wage mean for our members? In short, it sets the floor for hourly and overtime wages plus benefits paid to workers in a particular trade within a particular geographic region for certain projects. Just like this school here practices excellence, so do our trades, but not everyone in the construction industry is always driven by that priority. Prevailing wage stops low-road contractors from profiting off of a business model that relies on exploitative wages to fuel profit. Prevailing wages create fair, equitable, and a level playing field for those bidding on government projects. The other part of the Inflation Reduction Act's labor standards deal with apprenticeships. Registered apprenticeships combine on-the-job, hands-on training and in-classroom learning. The IRA requires certain percentages of time worked on projects to be completed by registered apprentices. Now, these labor standards only apply to larger projects, but for these projects, in order to claim the full tax credit, you must comply with the wage and apprenticeship requirements, and failing to meet the standards means you don't get the full amount of the tax credit. Why am I really here? What does this all mean in practice? It means our apprentices have the opportunity to work in their own nearby communities in many cases, to get valuable experience and skills, to build the foundations of a journey worker career that will sustain them and any family that they choose to have for their entire career. While they're doing that, they're building the infrastructure of the future, buildings that will keep our community safe and comfortable and will operate efficiently. And they get to have a focus on green technologies, which offer new career paths and a chance to work with cutting-edge innovations in construction. In turn, this stability allows our tradespeople to plan for their futures, knowing that their skills will be in demand for years to come. And at the same time, all of the benefit of our workforce stays in Wisconsin communities, via an increased tax base and spending power. We don't have a transient workforce. So, by utilizing competitive labor standards, including area standard wages, benefits, training opportunities, we are ensuring the economic impact of these projects stays in our local economy for generations to come. In conclusion, I'm really happy to be here today and talk about this confluence of so many exciting opportunities for Wisconsin and how the IRA is setting us up for sustained economic growth and resilient state. And that's a win-win for Wisconsin workers, students, the environment, and all of our communities. Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to introduce another member of the Wisconsin Building Trades Member Trades, and that's John Doherty from the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades.
Thanks for having me, everybody. And thank you to the Forest Edge Elementary School for hosting this. First off, I just want to apologize. I'm probably the only one here without a Wisconsin accent, so Boston accent, you have to slow me down. But I do want to, speak from a national perspective. From our union, the International Painters Union and Allied Trades, some of the trades that we do in building efficiency and building envelope work and glazing. what those opportunities mean to us. Yes, it means work. Yes, it means our members can get out to work, but it also means that we have the opportunity to do workforce development that's needed in this country across the entire nation, right? It gives us the opportunity to build relationships that don't exist right now with K-12 school districts, with workforce development boards, with everybody inside that workforce development ecosystem to ensure that people have a clear path to those good jobs and benefits that we talk about. So having prevailing wage and pre-apprenticeship programs tied to this historic bill that's going to have so much funding both in the public and private sector, to have that come down and have that opportunity to give our kids an opportunity to realize those careers in the construction trades that just don't exist in the current form in that pipeline system that we want to see is enormous for us. It gives us a lot of work to do over the next couple of years in making sure that those pipeline programs exist and articulated into registered apprenticeship programs in a way that do provide long-term outcomes for anybody who participates. It also allows us to build those relationships with parents of students going to those schools to make sure that they understand that we're bringing more healthy communities into their local economies, and that their children are going to be able to put monies back into their local economies. That again attracts more development, attracts more interest in building out what those pipeline systems look like. So I'm not going to take up too much time, but thanks for having me today. And I am going to pass it off to Mandela Barnes, the president of Forward Together Wisconsin. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all so much for being here. I'm excited to be back at Forest Edge. Had the wonderful opportunity to tour this wonderful school just a few years ago, and it is as amazing now as it was then. And I'm so glad that so many of you also get to experience what an amazing building this is. And I hope that we'll all get to leave here with a drive that we can see this replicated in so many other parts of the state. There are so many children across Wisconsin that deserve this sort of opportunity as well. And it's up to us in the room to make sure that happens. But I do want to give a sincere thanks to you all for setting the example, for showing what is possible for so many people who may not have otherwise realized it before. So again, I am Mandela Barnes, former Lieutenant Governor, President for Together Wisconsin. Again, very happy to be here with you all. And I started Forward Together Wisconsin earlier last year because we had a unique opportunity across the state, across the entire country, with the most significant piece of legislation in the history of this country to address carbon emissions, to help us all live more sustainable lives. The problem is not too many people, not enough people, knew about the Inflation Reduction Act. Not too many people could tell you what it meant, what it is, or what it does, or how it can help them as individuals. And we wanted to be able to bridge that information gap. I say that this organization was started to make sustainable attainable, so that people know what opportunities exist for them to take advantage of this historic legislation. Now, with that being said, there's still so much more work for us to do to be able to spread the message. And I'm incredibly grateful for the partnerships, be it the partnerships with labor, be it the partnerships with other existing organizations, with the educational landscape here in Wisconsin, with small businesses, with homeowners, you name it. Now, the reality is, how we choose to spend our money shows exactly what we prioritize as a society. And we shouldn't look at this as a cost, we need to look at this as an investment. Because every young person in the state of Wisconsin should have the opportunity to live, learn, and play in a happy, healthy environment. Their future should be shaped by educators as well as healthy school environments. But unfortunately, too many schools in this state have experienced closures due to extreme heat temperatures that exceed the average. And as they continue to rise, this will become more of a problem. Now, with ever-increasing extreme weather events, the writing is on the wall, and that it is time for us to upgrade our schools' energy efficiency. We need to do more to install solar panels and geothermal heating systems, and also invest in electric buses. And while this all sounds very difficult and very expensive, fortunately, the President's Affordable Clean Energy Plan can help school districts do just that, as long as administrators know where to look. And we are here to help you find those opportunities. And now, New federal funding exists for these opportunities, including the Inflation Reduction Act, combined with our active and engaged federal leaders, our state leaders and local leaders. This means that Wisconsin is poised for a new era for our people, and this means that we are poised for a new era for our environment as well as our economy. Now, as we know, big ideas have always come from this state. I'm incredibly proud that this has been our legacy for so long, but now we have the resources to be able to leverage those ideas into new opportunities that ensure that we leave our children a healthier, cleaner, and a more just future. And they get a chance to see it happen in real time, which is one of the more exciting parts about it. Now, the projects we're going to see and talk about today are a great example of how we can protect student health and learning, how we can increase and enhance resilience, as well as reduce local spending on infrastructure and decrease emissions, all while addressing equity and environmental justice. The things like electric school buses, heat pumps, and solar panels are eligible for cash reimbursement from the federal government in what is called direct pay. Now, these clean energy upgrades are more often cost-effective to operate, and those savings can be reinvested right into the classroom. Now, this funding is available at least until 2032, but why wait? All schools are eligible for it, and there are no caps on this funding. Schools can save as much as they choose by making these significant investments. Now, it all adds up to be the largest federal investment in school infrastructure ever. And that's good news for our children and our educators in the schools, and it's good for our economy. It's good for our longevity as a state, because our next generation of workers who will build our clean economy future are in these classrooms today. And they have the opportunity to go into good paying union careers right out of high school. Our friends in the trades who are here today are leading that fight for a worker-centered, clean economy that will tackle the climate crisis and racial and economic inequality all at the same time. And I'm glad they're here with us, because it can't happen without partnership. It's going to take all of us coming together, leaders in government, like Congressman Pocan, who you'll hear from next, folks like Superintendent Bergstrom and Principal Majesty, labor leaders and community leaders, all alike. Working together, we can and will push for clean energy adoption in school buildings and school districts across Wisconsin, even and especially the places where the resources may have historically been out of their reach. It's time for us to all do the right thing, and I'm glad you're here in this fight with us. With that being said, someone who has been leading the charge, someone who's been there, someone who made the Inflation Reduction Act possible, Congressman Mark Pocan.
Thank you. And I'm taking Lieutenant Governor's lead. It was just a little easier. I just got struggled out. I was a little nervous. I want to thank the Blue-Green Alliance and our partners here from education, from labor, and from the environmental movement, who are all working together to make our neighborhoods and ultimately our country better with projects like this. This is a win-win-win. It's a win for kids and their families because they're going to get a better education, get a better chance to have dollars reinvested into education through savings out of energy. Plus, with those great teachers, we can ensure that the best education is possible. It is a win for labor, for the people who are working to have a more professional job development, to have good wages and benefits, and to take the high road to the economy with those jobs, so that ultimately we're benefiting from our tax dollars going into these projects. And it's a win for the environment because ultimately we're addressing climate change, we're addressing the rising cost of energy, and this is something that's sustainable and will help deliver dollars for education, in this example, by having those savings. So it really is a big effing deal, as the president would say. I'll leave his words to him. But the Inflation Reduction Act is one of the big pieces of legislation we passed last session when Congress worked. We passed a bill to help us get out of COVID, and we did. We passed the first bill that 4 presidents talked about to invest in infrastructure, and we did. We passed legislation to start making things in America again, like computer chips, and we did. And we finally did the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act is trying to help lower the cost coming out of COVID. Everything reopened at once with worldwide inflation, but lowering healthcare and energy costs in particular. Healthcare we're not talking about today, but it did have us negotiate with Big Pharma for drug prices for the first time, I think, in history, taking on a big entity like that to save consumers money on their drugs. But specifically in energy, it's projects like this. It's projects that are helping this school in this community through these savings. It's projects that the average person can access themselves through tax credits and through rebates. There's a website called rewiringamerica.org. I'm going to say it again, rewiringamerica.org, that if you get a chance to take a look at, for the average person, this may be the benefit for the school and the community, but every single family can take advantage of savings and ways to have lower energy costs by taking a look at that website, and there's projects you can do. So I'm just really glad it was something Congress got done. I don't get the chance to say that sentence too often, so I'm always happy when I can. But last session, we got a lot of things done, and I think the person who can really go into more of the specifics of the implementation of this is someone from the Biden administration, the Deputy Assistant to the President for Clean Energy Innovation and Implementation. That's a mouthful. Christina Costa.
Thank you, Congressman. Big bill, long title. That's how it goes. That's how they assign them. Thank you to Forest Edge Elementary, to the Oregon School District, to everyone here today for joining us for this incredibly exciting event and opportunity. I know that we are all really keen to get to before, but I wanted to say a few words to close us out. President Biden and Vice President Harris came into office with a vision to grow our economy by investing in America and in American workers. And in so doing, to position our communities to lead in the industries and the economy that are going to define not just the next few years, but the next several decades. And that vision has been implemented with historic public investments in infrastructure, in manufacturing, and as we've been talking about today, in clean energy. Once in a generation size public investments that are creating jobs, they're transforming communities, but they're also crowding in more private capital, and so the impact of these laws is going above and beyond the appropriations that the last Congress was able to secure. Since the president took office, the private sector in this country has announced more than $400 billion in investments in clean energy deployment and manufacturing, and of those investments, more than half, 260 billion, have come online or have been announced in just the 2 years since the president signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law. And that's because the Inflation Reduction Act is the biggest, hands down, single biggest investment in combating climate change and in building a clean energy economy anywhere in the world. So far, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, thanks to the President and the Vice President's leadership, thanks to the leadership of Democrats in Congress, like Congressman Pocan, at least $1.7 billion of that money in clean energy manufacturing and deployment has been invested here in Wisconsin to build out the clean electricity sector. And of course, right here, where we're standing today, Forest Edge Elementary is at the forefront of one of the most innovative, exciting provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act, which is direct pay. For the first time ever, schools, but not only schools, public hospitals, cities, states, nonprofit organizations, churches, synagogues can access tax credits for building clean energy projects, for buying electric vehicles, for installing EV charging infrastructure that private companies have been able to take advantage of for a very, very long time. And one of the great things about this, it's available at least for the next 10 years, but it's not competitive, it's not capped. You don't have to spend months and months making the perfect grant proposal and then having it not get funded. If you build it, you get it with direct pay. Direct pay entities like schools are also eligible for the bonus credits in the law for using domestic content in projects, for meeting labor standards and making sure that clean energy jobs are good jobs, or for making investments in energy communities. And that is how we are ensuring that as we invest in building a clean energy economy in this country, we are doing it in the right way, in a way where the benefits are shared and felt by our communities and by our families. So by doing all of this, schools like this one can get 30, 40, 50% of the cost of these clean energy improvements back from the IRS as a check, thanks to direct pay. And that is a really, really big deal, not only because we get to model for our students what a clean energy economy looks like, but because utility costs for many schools are among one of the biggest demands on school budgets. And when energy costs go up, that leaves fewer resources available for everything else that schools need to do. And so when you can bring those costs down through energy efficiency improvements, through solar, through storage, through electric vehicles, it frees up those precious dollars to improve our schools in other ways and to enrich our kids' educations. So we're really all here today, I think, to get the word out about the incredible opportunity that direct pay presents for schools across Wisconsin, across the United States, and to encourage more districts to follow Forest Edge Elementary's incredible lead, to save money, to cut pollution, to create a healthier learning environment, and to create good jobs all at once. So thank you all again for welcoming us, and we are very excited for the tour.